actually recording this to my YouTube channel. Jordan picked that up right there. So if you guys want to go back and have a look at anything that we kind of rushed through, that you want to do this. But my goal this morning, and the reason that I've broken it up as you see on the front of the book, we're just going to do questions 1 through 25 today. Tomorrow's session we'll do 26 through 45, and then in the final section we'll do 46 through 60. So we're doing smaller chunks in each session because the ACT, generally speaking, gets more difficult as you go from beginning to end. Okay, so the last questions may take you more than a minute, but these first questions should take you less than a minute to work. So what I'm going to do is work through them at a pace that you would kind of need to be working through with the ACT to get you used to that. And then at the end, we can go back and take any questions on the problems that you have questions about. Okay, so what I want you to do is just get your pencil ready. You can work these along with me, and then again, we'll come back at the end and have a look at the problems that you may have some questions about. Y'all forgive me, my throat's a little raspy today, so let's dig right in. This is the welcome to the test. Marcus's favorite casserole recipe requires 3 eggs and makes 6 servings. You know, when you're going through problems, it doesn't hurt to underline things that are important. Marcus will modify the recipe using 5 eggs and increasing all other ingredients in the recipe proportionally. What is the total number of servings the modified recipe will make? Now, the mathematical way to do this is a proportion, right? Proportionally tells us that 3 is to 6 as 5 is to the number of servings. Now, that's a pretty easy question, right? 3 gives us 6 servings, and 5 will give us 10 servings. Now, you could cross multiply and go through the whole gamut there to get that, but this is, again, a pretty common sense question that we can work. All right, so next question, number 2. The 35-member history club is meeting to choose a student government representative. The members decide that the representative who will be chosen cannot be any of the 3 officers. Okay? What is the probability, so this is a simple probability problem, that Hiroko, who is a member of the club but not an officer, will be chosen? Okay, so we have total number of members, how many? 35, but how many are we eliminating? 3 are eliminated, so that leaves us with 32 members, and Hiroko is one of those 32 members. So favorable over possible gives us 1 over 32, or letter K for our answer. All right, next question. For what value of x is the equation 2 to the 2x plus 7 equal to 2 to the 15th? True. Now, this looks complicated because it's an exponential equation. But let's use our common senses. Okay, our common sense. If 2 is the same on both sides, then what else do we know has to equal? If the bases are the same, then the exponents have to be the same. So this is really asking us to do a pre-algebra level equation. 2x plus 7 equals 15, right? And we can do this in your head. Subtract 7 from both sides. 2x is 8. Divide both sides by 2. X is 4. And we're moving on to the next question, right? So don't be thrown off by the complicated look of that question. Let the function f be defined as f of x equals 5x squared minus 7 times the quantity 4x plus 3. What is the value of f at 3? Okay, or what is the value of f of 3? This is function notation. This is one of those problems where you could use a calculator if you chose to, but we're going to just substitute 3 everywhere there is an x. So 5 times 3 squared minus 7 times 4 times 3 plus 3. Again, if you were using a calculator, use the parentheses exactly the way I just wrote this. 5 times 9 is 45. 12 plus 3 is 15, right? 7 times 15 is 85. Is that right? No, it's 105, right? 105. And 45 minus 105 is negative 60. Okay? All right, so again, what I'm doing is pacing. I'm trying to pace us. We're under a minute per problem, so we're rolling right along. And we're talking some. So a wallet containing $5 bills, five $5 bills, 7 $10 bills, and 8 $20 bills is found and returned to its owner. The wallet's owner will reward the finder, will draw one bill randomly from the wallet. Again, what is the probability here? Probability that it'll be a 20. Favorable over possible, right? So how many 20s are in the wallet? 8. How many total bills are in the wallet? 5, 7, and 8 gives us 20. 8 out of 20 simplifies to be 2/5. Right? Now again, this is one of those things you can work through quickly. Next question, number 6. The ABC Book Club charges $40 monthly fee plus $2 per book read in that month. The Easy Book Club charges $35 plus $3 per book for books read in that month. For each club, how many books must be read in 1 month? For the total charges from each club to be equal. All right, to be equal, what are we going to be doing here? We're going to be solving an equation, right? We want these two things to be equal to each other. ABC Book Club is $40 plus how much? $2 for each book. And the Easy Book Club is $35 plus $3 for each book. And I'm going to solve this equation. Subtract 2b from both sides, right? Subtract 35 to get that by itself there. And we're going to have B equals 5 books. So 5 books, the charges will be equal. For 5 books, the charges will be equal. All right, next question. Geometry question, right? Parallelogram ABCD below. AC is a diagonal. The measure of ABC is 40 degrees. And the measure of ACD is 57 degrees, as labeled there. What is the measure of CAD? Now, quickly, we've got to know the properties of a parallelogram. Parallelogram has opposite angles congruent, opposite sides congruent. Opposite sides are parallel. The diagonals bisect each other. That's a lot of it. Alternate interior angles are going to be equal. But the thing that we need to know to solve this one is that the opposite angles are congruent. So this angle over here is also 40 degrees. And now I have 2 angles of a triangle on the right. Yes? Okay. And those 3 angles, including the one that we're looking for, have to add up to be 180 degrees, right? So 50 and 57 and 40, if you're using your calculator, that's 97 minus 180 will give us 83 degrees for the angle in question. All right, so again, knowing the properties of a parallelogram makes this pretty easy to solve. There are other properties of parallelograms that you could have used here. Just for sake of interest, let's do this in another way. Another property of parallelograms is that adjacent angles, this angle and that angle, have to add up to be 180, don't they? Right? And then 40 degrees plus 57 degrees plus this angle right here, this little x value has to equal 180. And that x would again end up being 83, and then alternate interior angles are equal, right? So that's what you get on that. So that's another way you could have done this problem. But you can't do the problem without knowing the properties of parallelograms, okay? It's an important set of facts to do this. All right, when x equals 1/2, what is the value of 8x minus 3 over x? So what are we going to do there? We're just going to make a substitution, right? Plug in 1/2 for x. And again, this is something you could do on your calculator if you wanted to. 8 times 1/2 minus 3 divided by 1/2. What's 8 times 1/2? 4 minus 3 is 1. 1 divided by 1/2 is the same as 1 times the reciprocal of 1/2. And 1 times 2 is 2. Okay? Again, very, very doable problems in these early parts of the ACT. Every once in a while they'll throw a problem in that throws you off. Don't let it destroy your confidence. Skip that one and come back to it later. All right? So let's look at this one. In the standard coordinate plane, what is the midpoint of the line segment that has endpoints 3, 8, and 1, -4? Now, immediately, this is a geometry problem, right? And we need to know the midpoint formula, but I'd really like for you to know what a midpoint is. Midpoint's the middle. Midpoint is the average of the 2 points. Remember that. The midpoint is the average of the 2 points. How do you average two things? You add them and divide by 2. So literally, if we wanted to just add 8 and -4, what's 8 and -4?
-4.
It's +4, right? And +4 divided by 2 is 2. I'm done. Okay? Now, let's just suppose you forget that concept. Midpoint problems can always, just about always, be gotten correctly by doing a really quick sketch of a graph. So we're doing this a second way. If I did a really quick sketch of these 2 points, where's 3, 8? And I'm talking about really quick. I'm not going to label my axis real well or anything. I think I can do a little better than that. 3, 8 is somewhere maybe up here. Y'all with me? Where is 1, -4? Out right here. Midpoint's somewhere right in there. Which one of these points looks like it would be right in there?
Wouldn't that be -1 there?
Do what?
Wouldn't that be -1?
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're exactly right, Thomas. 1, -4 is right here. But again, the midpoint's still... Yeah, you're exactly right. The midpoint's still going to be in this area, right? And generally, the ACT, and this is true on all these problems, there's another midpoint problem later in the test that will work. Same way, you can do a quick graph and guess where the point, that's the point that makes sense, right? For the midpoint. Thanks for catching my mistake there. Pick up a book. All right. Number 10 is where we are. So get to number 10 and we'll go. Again, this looked complicated, right? This problem is asking us to read this graph. Fluctuation of water depth at a pier is shown in the figure below. So the tide's coming in, the tide's going out, right? One of the following values gives the positive difference in feet. Okay, the difference. What is the difference telling us to do? Subtract, right? Subtract the greatest water depth and the least water depth. You're going to subtract the greatest water depth. It looks like the greatest water depth is 12. The least water depth is 6. And if we subtract 12 and 6, we get 6. So again, don't be fooled by something looking complicated. It's a straightforward problem. All right, next question. And y'all make sure to put a star, and we can come back and go over any of these things that you want to. What is the slope of the line through -2, 1, and 2, -5 in the standard coordinate plane? You got to know the slope formula. So write this formula in your booklet there and make sure that you know this one. The slope is the difference in y's divided by the difference in the x, change in y over change in x. So to find the slope, we subtract the y coordinates, subtract the x coordinates in the same order, and we're going to get that. So -5 minus 1, that's y2 minus y1, and then 2 minus -2. 2 minus -2 is going to be 2 plus 2. So that gives us -6 over +4, which will simplify to be -3/2. Next question, right? Slope formula. Write it down. You need to know the slope formula for the ACT. Every ACT. This one we're going to use it twice. In Cherokee County, the fine for speeding is $17 for each mile, right? $17 for each mile over the speed limit. That's 17M. I'm going to go ahead and write that down. In Cherokee County, Kirk was fined $200 $221 for speeding on a road with a posted speed of 30 miles per hour. Okay, if the fine is equal to $17 for each mile, what was Kirk's fine? $221, correct? And we're going to divide both sides by 17. Yeah, that's a nice little calculator problem you could use probably. 7 is 1 is that 13? You get M equals 13. But now be careful. What is this? That's the miles that he was traveling over the speed limit. Okay? The speed limit was 30. Kirk was going 43 miles per hour. There's no second best answer, right? You get M equals 13 there, and if you write it, choose the first answer choice, you got to be careful. Well, it's a trick. It's a trap. It's a speed trap. Right? It's a speeding problem. Get it?
Okay.
I know, right? Thank you. What is the sum of the solutions of these two equations below? The sum, what are they telling us to do? Add, right? We're going to add the answers. So I'm going to solve each of these equations. They got it kind of looks like a system of equations up there, right? But they just want us to solve each of these. X is 12 over 8, right? And the second equation, we're going to get subtract 10 from both sides, right? And we get 2y equals 12, which means y equals 6. So I'm adding 6 and 12/8, which is what? 6 and 12/8 is 3 over 2. That's 1.5. 6 plus 1.5 is 7.5. All right. Next. The average of 5 distinct scores. What does distinct mean? They're all different. All 5 scores are different. Okay, has the same value as the median of the 5 scores. So we're talking about the average and the median. What's the median?
Middle.
It's the middle one, right? Okay, and they're the same. The sum of the 5 scores is 420. What is the sum of the 4 scores that are not the median? So really what they're asking us to do is find the median and subtract it from the sum. What is the average of 5 scores? It's the sum divided by 5. Well, they gave us the sum. The sum is 420. 420 divided by 5 is 84, right? Which is the median and the mean, the average. So this is telling us what is the sum of the 4 scores that are not the median. That means we need to subtract the median from 420. 420 minus 84 is going to give us 336. Is that it? Okay. That might take a little minute to figure out. But again, have we done anything here that absolutely requires the use of a calculator yet? No. You know, some of you may not be able to, divide that as quickly as I can, but it doesn't have to do it, right? What's 400 divided by 5? 40 is 80, right? And then 20 divided by 5 is 4, so that's 84. All right, next question. Now this is just to evaluate an absolute value. We're going to start from the inside and work our way out, right? What is negative 8 plus 4? Negative 4 minus the absolute value of 3 minus 9. 3 minus 9 is negative 6. I'm going to do my absolute values again. What's the absolute value of negative 4? 4. The absolute value of negative 6 is 6. Right? 4 minus 6 is negative 2, and the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. All right. Next question. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to x to the 2/3? Now, does anybody remember any facts about fractional exponents? Because that's all this question is asking. Do you know what a fractional exponent means? Okay. In a fractional exponent, you ready for this? The denominator, write this down. We're going to still write this down and still be able to finish this problem in less than a minute. The denominator is the root. Sorry for my handwriting. The denominator is the root. The numerator is the exponent. So if I read this correctly, x to the 2/3, that's the cube root of x squared. Now, so there's the fact there. That's what they're testing your understanding of. The cube root of x squared. Now, they could ask you something odd like 8 to the 2/3 power. That's the cube root of 8 squared. The cube root of 8 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Okay, so denominator is the root. The numerator is the exponent. In the standard xy coordinate plane, what is the slope of the line? Slope of the line. Now, the easiest way, if you're given an equation to find the slope of the line, is to put it into slope-intercept form, right? So if we solve this equation for y, then the coefficient of x is going to be our slope. So how would I solve this for y? First, I would subtract 5 from both sides, right? And then divide every piece by 7. So I'm done. My slope is 4/7. That's the only part I'm interested in, so I'm not going to finish the rest of the problem. Okay? Is everybody with me? Next question. For which of the following conditions will the sum of m and n always be an odd integer? So if you add two things and you get an odd integer, how do you add two things and get an odd number? Think about it. One has to be even and one has to be odd, right? If you add two odds, what do you get? An even. If you add two evens, you get an even. All right, so that's what we're asking for. So it can't be that one, it can't be that one. M and N are both odd. If you add M and N, they're both odd, you get an even. So it's got to be K. M is odd and N is even. It's just about always a number theory question like that on ACT also. Okay, number 19. Below are the two legs of a right triangle. Oh boy, right triangle. I'm immediately thinking Pythagorean theorem or SOHCAHTOA or something like that, right? So triangle ABC, given the midpoint of AB is how many inches? So we want the midpoint of this. We want to know how far it is from A. So really I want to know that little distance right there. To do that, I'm going to get the distance of the hypotenuse and cut it in half. Now maybe this is a calculator question. Okay. 24 squared plus 32 squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared. Okay. And when you solve that, was this 1600 equals c squared? C equals what? 40? So this whole thing is equal to 40, which means half of it is equal to 20. Now, can I show you guys a little trick on this one? Let me show you a little trick. This is a time saver. You know about similar triangles, right? The ratios are the same. Look at this. If I shrunk this triangle, divided both these sides by 8, what would I have? 3, 4, and if you remember your triangle facts, 3, 4, 5 is the smallest integral Pythagorean triple. 3, 4, 5 triangle. Remember the 3, 4, 5? Y'all talked about that a lot. So 5 times 8 is 40. So this is 40. No calculator necessary. 3-4-5 ratio. Look for the 3-4-5. It shows up on ACT. It's a time saver, right? 3 times 8, 4 times 8. The hypotenuse has to be 5 times 8. And so you save yourself some time there and get to the 20 a lot more quickly. I wasn't? No, I finished it. I was working it a second way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Triangle midpoint.
Yes, yeah. I was working it a second way. Yes, triangle DEF, the length of DE is the square root of 30. I'm going to draw a triangle anytime I'm given a triangle. They don't give me a picture, I'm going to make a picture. DEF, right? The value of DE is the square root of 30. The value of EF is 3. If it can be determined, what is the length in inches of DF? Now this is a triangle fact question, right? How many parts of a triangle do we have to know to solve it? If it's a right triangle, we have to have 2 pieces. Is this a right triangle? If it's a non-right triangle, we have to have 3 pieces to solve it. So the answer here is K. Non-right triangles, you have to know 3 pieces. Either all 3 sides, 2 sides and an angle, and we could use law of cosines and law of sines, which is rarely on ACT. Okay? You're never required to use it, but it might be there in forms. We got 4 more of these. Let's roll through. Laura plans to paint the 8-foot-high rectangular walls of her room, and before she buys paint, she needs to know the area of the wall surface to be painted. 2 walls are 10 feet wide, and the other 2 walls are 15 feet wide. The combined area of the window and 1 door is 60 square feet. What's the area in square feet of the wall surface to be painted? So we got 4 rectangles, right? What are the 4 rectangles? 2 of them are 10 by 8, right? So I got that rectangle and another rectangle, 10 feet wide by 8 feet tall. What are the other 2 rectangles? 15 feet, right? So 15 by 8 and 15 by 8. You could have just done that multiplied by 2, right? And then they give us this. 1 window and door are 60 square feet. Those are holes, right? There's no walls there, so we've got to subtract the holes away. So we're going to subtract 60 from this. Okay. 10 times 8 is 80. 80 and 80 is 160. Is that what? 8 times 15 is 120. 40 and 80 is 120. 240, 180, 240 minus 60. So 180 and 180 is 360 square feet. Picture the room that you're sitting in. 4 rectangles. Area of a rectangle is length times width. All right. Number 22. The length of a rectangle is 5 inches longer than it is wide. Okay. Length of a rectangle is 5 inches longer than it is wide. The perimeter is 40. So here's x. Here's x plus 5. The length is 5 inches longer than the width. So if one is x, the other is x plus 5, or w plus 5. And then they want us to find the perimeter, right? So 2, or what is the width of the rectangle? 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 5. Twice the length plus twice the width is the perimeter, equals 40. So that's 2x plus 10, right? So we get 4x equals, subtract 10, 30. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. Next question. Okay. All right. I like this question because we're just going to use straight up, read the equation, write the equation. Of means what? multiply is means equals what number is my variable, right? So 8%, 0.08 times 60 is 1/5 of X, right? 8% of 60, the 4.8. 4.8, it might be good to go ahead and change 1/5 to a decimal, right? What's 1/5 is 2/10, 0.2 X. Divide both sides by 0.2 X, and we get what? 24. Right? 24. Armin is trying to decide whether to buy a season pass to his college basketball team's 20 home games this season. That may be important, 20 home games. We need to, the cost of an individual ticket is $14, and the cost of a season pass is $175. A season pass will admit Armin to any home basketball game at no additional cost. What is the minimum number of home basketball games Armin must attend this season in order for, here we go, the cost of the season pass to be less than the cost of buying individual tickets? There's my equation statement. You see the equation statement? What's the cost of the season pass? Less than the total cost of buying season tickets. The season tickets are $14 for each ticket, right? Or 14 for each game. It wouldn't matter what equation you use there. All right, so if we divide both sides by 14, what do we get? 175 divided by 14. Nice calculator there. 12.5. So he has to go to more than 12.5 games. Which one of these numbers is more than 12.5? 13. Okay, last question for the morning. What is this? Scientific notation, right? Now you could use your calculator on this, but again, the calculator is going to cost you more time than it takes. What I want you to be able to do is remember the law of exponents. What do negative exponents do to things? It flips them, right? If it's negative exponent and it's down, it moves up. If it's up, it moves down. So if we rewrite this real quickly as 4.8 times 10 to the 11th over 1.6 times 10 to the 7th, and we can use some more stuff, right? What is 10 to the 11th divided by 10 to the 7th? 10 to the 4th. And 4.8 divided by 1.6 is 3. 48 divided by 16. Okay? All right. Now we're going to stop there and continue working through these problems tomorrow. Here's what I need you to do. Go back and make a note card for anything that formulas that we mentioned. Kind of go back and look at these problems. Any questions? Did I go through anything too quickly? Did anybody star anything that I need to go back and have a look at?
Yeah, what's the midpoint thing?
The midpoint is, I'm just going to tell you, it's the average.
Okay.
How do you average two things? You add and divide by 2. Okay? Midpoint is the average. So the fact that you need to remember there, midpoint is the average of two things. Add them and divide by 2. Okay? All right. See y'all tomorrow.